All right. But yeah. Okay. What's up, Alpha Diallo? Great to see you here as usual. So, question is, Ian, $50,000 in Tether, where would you put it to turn it up to $3 million? Okay, good question. Good question. So, $50,000, where would I invest to make 3 million? Okay, so what kind of return is that, right? So let's say 50 to half a million is a 10x. So you're looking at a 60x return, right? So let's make things simple. How do we get a 100x return? Right? How do we take $50,000 and turn that to $5 million? Because in crypto, it is possible, right? And as you guys know by now, it is playing the low caps. Right now, we're in alt season. Right now is the time to make money, right? So how would I take $50,000? I would do this, right? First of all, I would subscribe to tokenmetrics.com. I mean, that's why we built this site for a reason. Because you have the best resources. You have the platform, the analytics, you have the newsletter, and we'll be doing code reviews, right? So right now, honestly, fundamentals do not matter. And as a fundamental guy, it hurts to say that, but right now, they don't matter, right? Central banks are printing money, QE, quantitative easing, money is just flowing in and pumping. But while fundamentals don't matter now, once the music stops playing, they'll be the only thing that matters, right? So you don't want to completely throw fundamentals out the window. You want to factor that in to your investment thesis for long-term investing, right? Because once the music stops, you don't want to end up in a project that nobody wants to buy, right? You want to pick those solid projects that, yes, they will correct, because every project corrects. I don't care if it's going to the moon. I don't care if it's made by Jesus himself. Every project will correct. Because think about this, even Bitcoin corrected. Bitcoin went to 19K and came down to 3,000. If Bitcoin, the best currency right now with the most market cap and liquidity, can correct that much, Ethereum went to 1,400 last bull run and came back down to $100, right? Dropped 90%. So 85 to 90% is what the good projects will do. But the low cap projects, even the solid ones, they'll drop 90 to 95%. So the question is, right now, fundamentals might not matter, but once you take your profits, you'll still be holding it back, right? And your goal is to make sure when they crash, if you're buying back in, or if you're just holding, that they bounce back. So you want a project that can bounce back, and bounce back fundamentals matter, right? So if I have $50,000, what do I invest in projects? So the first thing we do right now, right? Because I'm now kind of delving and investing heavily in altcoins, as you guys have been seeing through our code reviews and last live streams. The first thing we do, we have our blockchain engineers go through and do a code review on this project, because these projects will launch, no centralized exchange, some of them not even any exchange yet. The first thing we want to make sure is the code good? So we have our engineers go through, look at the GitHub code. We have our entire system, our scorecard. We rate that, right? So I don't even want to look at a project until it scores over an 80%, right? And we share those grades in our customers' newsletters at tokenmetrics.com, right? So if you open up the last code review every Tuesday, we'll have 5 projects. And there'll be some months, honestly, where there's no good project. But right now, in the last 2 reports, there have been lots of projects over 80%. Right? So first thing I do is I look at, okay, is the code review over an 80%? Once it's over 80%, the next thing I do is I go on to Tokenmetrics or Coin Market Cap, CoinGecko, and I look at the market cap. Is the market cap under 10 million? Right? If I can find that, I'm in. YOLO, right? We're going in.
We just landed on the moon.
Right? Because that's how you balance good value, fundamentals, or yeah. Right now, I think code reviews are kind of the fundamentals, right? So good technology means that it's still going to be around in a few years. When the music stops, it's still good tech, right? When the music stops, it's still Chainlink, it's still synthetics. That's how those projects bounced back. Because when other projects that are garbage, because they might pump now, like they might do a 40x, 50x, 100x in this market, right? But once the music stops and they dump, the good projects are still pumping, but slowly, right? It's kind of like the tortoise and the hare, right? The turtle and the hare. You aren't looking for a rabbit, right? The rabbit was nice, right? 100x is nice, but 1000x is better, right? And the 1000x's, they're nice and steady. They don't just go, right? So that's the strategy. So basically, good code review on Tokenmetrics over 80%, market cap under 10 million, and then if I have 50 grand, I would probably do 10% in each, right? I would do. I would say 5 to 10% of my. Just to be safe, I'd probably do 5%, honestly, right? But if you want to be more experimental, right? But make sure this is money you're willing to lose, right? I would never put more than 10% into any project besides Ethereum, right? So when I say I'm going into altcoins, like for me, like a benchmark protocol, I put in 5% of my portfolio, and even the other one. The only one where I did more than 5%, and 5% is based on good grades, right? Good code review and low market cap. Right? The only one where I did more, which was 10%, was Opium. I did that because one, it had a good code review, right? Two, it was liquid, right? So when you, that's one other factor. When you're investing, make sure it is liquid. So as I mentioned before, never put more than 10% into any project with your portfolio, but also never more than 10% of the daily trading volume, because you never want to get rug pulled, right? So for example, coming back here to idle, right? I mentioned I could have put in a lot more in idle. I mean, I wanted to double down on idle, but knowing my rule, right? Looking at the daily trading volume, I don't want anything more than 10% slippage, because when the music stops, you will get wrecked, right? So you want something that is liquid. If anything, actually 10% is actually the most aggressive, but ideally you want something with 5% slippage, right? So 5% of the daily trading volume. So just take this number, right? So 1 million tells me that if I'm getting into idle, I should only buy $50,000 at a time, right? Basically per day, right? So, and let's say, so if you have $50,000, buying idle is fine, right? But that's kind of the strategy I would employ, right? Just kind of recap. Code review over 80%. Don't put more than 5%, max 10%, but 10% for a reason, right? So for me, Opium, I did 10% because the yield farming was very, very attractive. So to me, that made a lot of sense, right? So as I mentioned earlier, if you come here to One Inch Exchange, to their DAO, and then if you go to farming, right? So I was going to do 5%, but I saw that One Inch Exchange had they're paying out 160%, I believe, for staking LP tokens, basically liquidity pool tokens for ETH and Opium pairs. So basically, I'm basically double dipping, right? So I'm not sure why it's not loading here. Yeah, here we go, right? So right now there's $26 million staked on One Inch Exchange for this pair, right? So let's say I take 50 grand, I put 5 grand into Opium, basically 5%, 10%, I'm sorry, right? But usually it will be 5%. I put 10% because this is attractive, right? I already have Opium tokens and I already have ETH, and you'll give me 154% annually and 45% of this, right? This is a no-brainer, right? Plus the token you're giving me, One Inch Exchange, is an exchange I already use, and I know it's legit. Like this is a creme de la creme project. Like this is a project that can 10x. And so now I'm basically double dipping, getting into a project like Opium, which can 10x, let's say 5-10x, and I'm earning yield through a different token, 1 inch, that can also do a 10x. And so 10x and 10x, 100x. No, it's just a 20x, right? But that's kind of how you do the whole DeFi yield farming game, right? And you do this with 10 different projects. You're basically doing 10 different bets, right? So going back to the whole 50 grand, right? So you have 5 grand in 10 projects if you're doing 10%, right? Or you can do 2.5 grand in 20 projects, right? But you want to make sure you're diversifying all of this, right? But the projects you're getting into have to be solid, good technology. Don't chase the pump and dump. Don't chase the pumpamentals. I know lots of other YouTubers talk about this, but you do not want to do that. Pumpamentals get you wrecked, right? Because you want projects that will weather the storm, right? So that's really it. Because if you do that, because every project we're investing in has a low cap, ideally under 10 million with good code. If all of them do a 10x, you're good, you're set. But ideally, there'll be one or two that will do 100x. And that's how you really blow up your portfolio, right? But even long term, one of them could do 1,000x. And that 1,000x return will return your entire portfolio, right? Now, that's what VCs do. VCs are basically just swinging for the fences, doing a home run, right? But if you're going to swing for the fences, make sure you're doing your research. And that's why we have our website, the newsletter, the code reviews, and we're now also launching the private Telegram groups. But honestly, that's the strategy. Like that's what I used back in 2017 to turn 20 grand to 5 million. And now people can do the same strategy now. And I think it's even a lot better now because the technology and infrastructure is a lot better, but more so, there's actual usage. These are actual applications people can actually use. Like when you're buying 1inch exchange, these are actual dApps. Like DeFi really is the year of the dApp, right? These are actual dApps that are live with tokens. Because back in 2017, people were talking about dApps, but you couldn't actually use them. Now we can actually use these dApps and make money while using them. I mean, that's just beautiful, right? Moon
We
Lambo.
just landed on the moon.
Right, so that's the motto. I hope you guys can go out there and do it, right?
Tokenmetrics is a cryptocurrency investment platform that helps users leverage machine learning to become better crypto investors. Our in-depth analysis helps eliminate the emotions of investing, find profitable investment opportunities, and filters out scams. Learn more at tokenmetrics.com.